Welcome to Fuel. Fuel stands for Finance, Unity, Empowerment, Legacy. On last week, we began to talk about it's about that saving thing and realized we needed to make it a two-parter. So here we are catching up on the conversation in part two with Dennis, Dr. Jackie, and Mac.
Excellent. And so, you know what came to mind is we have all kind of circled around a solid financial foundation and the components of that. And I listened to the radio announcements and the TV advertisements because I watch how they have changed. So Dennis and I have been and Mac have been affiliated with a company that talks a lot about financial literacy, which is what we're really purporting, but also financial freedom. And I'm now hearing the buzzword. So wouldn't you like to do that to be financially free? So how are you going to be financially free? It is interesting how the things that we have been talking about, you now hear in the advertisement, but theirs is being said for you to then purchase something to it to join their whatever. So if we're looking at a strong financial foundation, what do you say? Even if you've already said it, let's just give out some pointers of what would be part of that. And Mac, I heard you mention some. So Dennis, you want to start? Strong financial foundation. What do our listeners and viewers need to think about and answer the question? Do you have this, which is a component of your strong financial foundation? Because we're building a house here, guys. We're building a house, our financial house. And when you start building, as you see, wherever you're living and the construction's going on, they can't start in the top, floating in the air. They have to start at that foundation. So what would you say, Dennis?
Foundational tools. Well, we've pretty much talked about insurance.
Okay. So we can say
That's
insurance.
a foundational tool.
Uh-huh.
Education and savings. Just basically planning for future events that you see other people going through.
Okay.
Um,
All
so
right. Let's go try Mac. Give me some more. What would be in this
And
strong financial foundation?
I think the strongest uh, foundational piece is to actually take the time to write out every expenditure and to analyze it, to determine what is necessary, what is not so necessary, what ways can we save, what ways can we enhance our present and our future. I think that's the way that I would look at it. It all starts with, I still go back, Dr. Jackie, I just go back to the budget, 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 budget. And just knowing that if you are trying to obtain a certain goal in life, then you have to look at your budget. What percent is going to purchasing your house, or what amount is going towards your current living situation if you don't have a house yet? How much is going towards utilities? How much is going towards healthcare? How much is going towards taxes? How much is going towards groceries? I mean, it all factors in. And the thing that helped me, because maybe it's just the financial background that I've worked in my 30 years plus, is really, I break out everything by percentages. So a certain amount percentage is what I save, a certain amount is what I spend on groceries, et cetera, et cetera. And I take it from that point. And if I can't realistically do it, then I adjust temporarily until I can get to the actual goals that I want to reach. That's the best answer I have for you.
I love it. I love it. And
Yeah.
go on, Dennis.
Well, I said, as an addition to that, um, I try not to focus on, I mean, I do a budget because you got to know what you're going to spend, but I focus on increasing my income. So I do investments and what are those things called? Cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, insurance. I do have bank savings, but the interest rate is so low, it's basically not worth doing it. So I'm always looking for ways to make my money have babies. Sometimes they have twins, sometimes they have quadruplets, but I always want my money to have babies because my brain has a different way of the way I want to live. And I've been blessed all my life to, not all, but most of my life to live the way my mind wants me to live. There have been times when, that wasn't possible or the income wasn't enough, but the wants were still there and the needs. So I've always focused on what's called the ROI, the return on my investment. So if I'm going to pay electricity to keep the lights on, I have to figure out, like Max said, what's my budget for electricity? Sometimes you can't control it because when I look at my electric bill, there's about 10 items on there. And I just want to pay for electricity. I don't know what all the other crap is.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get my water bill, there's about 4 items on there. And I just figure it's a way for them to make money. I guess they call it a breakout of what your charges actually mean. But, I live by myself. So my expenses should be very low. But my wants, are really big. So I'm always looking for foundational devices or assets that can pay for those other things I want to do. I've been to Thailand, Vietnam, Dubai, kind of like China. I didn't want to spend that much time in China. I didn't spend that much time in China, but I wanted to spend more time there, and Italy and Spain. And that's the kind of things that I want to do. Um, I'm not so interested in sitting at home in a 6-bedroom house or a 5-bedroom house or a 4-bedroom house or 2-bedroom house watching TV. But if I do, it's going to be a grand TV. Or like Max said, I want to take piano lessons. I want to do those things that I've always wanted to do, but I never had the time or money. And then you have to figure out what is time. Time is one of the foundational principles because that's the thing we waste and we can never, ever get back. Your time is more valuable than gold. So that's just another extension of foundational things, Dr. Jackie.
So I hear, and I hope that the viewers hear a lot of things that they should look at as they address where they are in their finances. COVID has just turned things upside down, topsy-turvy. So many people have lost their jobs or questionable jobs or concerned about being furloughed in their job or wondering how to make it. And when you're in that state of anxiety, you have a tendency to spend instead of save. So as in the spring, we started in March and I was walking a lot during the summer. And as I walked, I noticed an accumulation of boxes, Amazon truck always going through the area, and boxes of big ticket items. But that was because we were home and we felt, well, I might as well entertain myself at home. I got a job today. And I'm just going to get this stuff while I can. So we had these big TVs and this computers and this furniture, and I'm going to put a fence up and I'm going to put a pool in and whatever, based on wherever you live. I'm sure you've seen the same thing. But what we also see is I got to go get groceries. I got to make sure I have food. The kids are home. Everybody's eating. So a lot of money going out with the uncertainty of what's happening inside. And again, takes us back to your foundation. And Mac, you, I think, talking about planning, and Dennis talking about time. So that those are critical elements of looking at over time what you plan to, where you plan to be financially, what it means to be financially free. Dennis, you mentioned something about understanding how your money works. That's education. That's becoming literate. You want to lose weight, one of the first things they say, write down what you eat. You want to look at your money and save money, one of the first things they say is write down what you spend. You would be surprised at how much money is going to these little things that mount up. The jar that you're putting the money in and you're putting in quarters, whatever, mounts up to loads of money. You don't realize it. That gum that you didn't get adds up. So I think that people are anxious to get back to what it was. It's not going to be there. Whatever we were in is going to always be shaped by the fact that we were in this pandemic. But our finances, we're trying, the government's trying to recoup. You need to understand what you need to do to put yourself at a better place. And so Max started out talking about savings, and that is it. And you're looking at, but I really just want this one more thing. Fine, you have the money, but take out, be it a percentage as Mac talked about, or be it a set amount as Dennis talked about, put something aside, save that, and then go on and do whatever. And if you don't have enough to do that whatever, because it's not in the budget, then you have to wait until you have earned it or find other ways to grow your income. So that is kind of laid on my heart based on the things that you guys were talking about. And just thinking, I was shopping with a friend and said, where are you getting all this money from? And as they're pulling stuff off the shelf, and I know that there is some up and down with that person's job situation. Something to think about, guys. Okay. Anybody else want to? I'm talkative today.
Yes, Dr. Jackie, you are representing well today. I tell you, just kind of as kind of my final statement concerning this, I just want our audience to not make the mistake that I made in waiting too long to really get serious about understanding money. I look at the valuable years that got lost and what could have been had I had more sound financial discipline in my earlier years. But I'm also very thankful that you guys are in my life, because you're part of that process for me in order to really, really consider, what am I doing with the money? Am I being controlled by the money, or am I controlling it? I just keep going back to the phrase, be the lender, not the borrower. To Dennis's point, the first time I walked into a dealership and paid cash money for a car, I felt so good because I dictated the price myself. And in fact, I'll let you guys know, I walked in there and I told, first of all, I went past the salesperson because I said, let me talk to whoever is doing the contract. And I said, look, I've got X amount of dollars and I want to spend only X amount of dollars. So within that, you work out the warranty package, you work out the taxes, all the crap that's in that thing. And I want to just spend this flat amount of money and walk out the door. And at first they balked and I totally walked out. And then they, oh, come back, come back, come back. And then they worked it out. And I loved having that control, having that power even to be able to dictate the terms. And so I want everybody to be able to live with that kind of authority. And it starts with the very first foundational piece, which is to save, protect, invest.
Yeah, that's a wonderful story. Powerful to have that kind of control. I remember when I was looking for my house, the bank told me, they looked at my income and said, well, you can afford a house at this amount. And I said, you are looking at just a bottom line amount. I have to look at my life and what it is I'm doing and where I want to go. And to afford a house at whatever that price was would meant that my monthly would have been so large, I would not have been able to afford the kind of life that I wanted to live, because all of it would have been going to the mortgage. And so what I said to my realtor and to the bank is, yes, maybe I can, but I don't want to purchase a house at that. I don't want to be house poor. So think about that when you're making other purchases. Do you want to be car poor because all of your money is going at paying? If you don't have the power to walk in as Mac did and control the situation, then you'll be car poor. And so you live in the car and it's great and it's wonderful. Is it? Is that what you really want when you had other choices? So, yeah, it was a great point, Mac. Dennis, you want to have a closing statement?
Sure. Well, I was trying to stick on what you guys were saying, but my brain always goes somewhere different. But I was as close as I can get to what you guys are saying is the time value of money. And that's a concept I learned a long time ago also. What is your time value of your money? So to be more succinct is that if you're working and you got a job making $20 an hour, then your time is worth $20 an hour. If somebody had to replace you in your family and your job, how much would it cost for them to replace you in your family and in your job? Would it be $20? Or would it be a lot more? You know, housewives, we don't think about their time value of money, but if you had to hire somebody to do what they do, how much would you really spend? Probably around $70,000 a year to get a housewife that takes care of half the stuff that a housewife takes care of. So when you're calculating your savings and calculating, like Dr. Jackie did, how big of a house you can afford, you have to look at the real time value, of your money. Will this allow me to take vacations if I buy this extra big house? Will this allow me to buy a used car or a new car and then not eat good food? So everything, that you want out of life has to be balanced with the things that are good for you, good for your family, and good for your future. That's all I have to say right now. We'll have more as time goes on.
Good for you, good for your family, good for your future. I love it. I love it.
Close us out, Dr. Jackie.
I did well. I think that there are elements that each of us have presented that can apply to being good for you, good for your family, good for your future. And you have to see what works for you but you have to start someplace. And as Max said, plan it. As Dennis said, they're time sensitive. And so what I'm going to say is do it now. Do it now. Sit down and do it now. You don't know about tomorrow. We don't have the crystal ball. So thank you so much for signing on with us and being a part of this. I hope that you can take something away to add to the being good for you.
Yeah.
See you later,
Fuel,
guys.
yeah, fuel your future.
All right. Fueling the next generation.
It's a legacy.
Thank you for supporting Fuel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Fueling Future Generations. Make sure that you subscribe and also click on the bell so that you can always receive notifications when we're on air. Likewise, please reach out to our financial professionals at our email address, which is fuelingfuturegenerations2020@gmail.com.